We're going to call the meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. If we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, JR.
Councilmember Lau?
Present.
Councilmember Crosby is absent. Councilmember Carter?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Present.
And Mayor Hepburn.
Present. Do we have any announcements or community events anybody would like to speak with?
We do. Sherry Best submitted a...
Oh, you got it already. Sherry, want to come on up?
Yeah.
I brought mine tonight to speak on it, so you're doing it. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm announcing in person.
I like that.
All right. I'm delighted to be here. I'm Sherry Best, representing the Laverne Historical Society. I would like to invite everybody again to our October 11th first in-person Laverne Historical Society sponsored fall member and community meeting, where we're going to be talking about the production process of our film, The Story of Laverne. It's going to be made available to all third graders in the Bonita Unified School District, their teachers, and we've invited members of the City Council, members of the school board, third grade teachers in the Bonita Unified School District and the Historical Society, and anybody else who'd like to attend. So I'll put these out on the table. I think we'll have a really, really good time. And at that meeting, we'll have for sale our book, Laverne, which came out last November. We'll also have for sale our T-shirts. Here they are. There's the back.
Do you have anything larger?
Oh, yes.
I'm just checking.
Yes, I know. This fit in my purse, but we have small through 4XL
It shrunk.
in black and white background. And on the back of the shirt, we have our truck logo. And that takes me to my second announcement, which is Edmund Connedy's 1938 truck is over at Bonita High School. It's being restored by the high school students in the shop class under the direction of Rob Zambodi. And our goal is to have it in the 4th of July parade. We hope. So, buy a T-shirt. Help us out. We've got to replace everything on that truck. Yes?
Where are they?
Oh, from me.
Where? Oh.
I will deliver them. Or you can come to my house, or I'll take them to your house. And you can come to our meeting next week and buy them there. So, we're accessible to you. Check the website and be in touch. I'll put these up front. Does anybody need them?
It's the Sherry Best Amazon delivery program. So whatever you need, we aim to please. Mr. May, do you have anything to speak about the library tonight? You're just here to enjoy with us. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on announcements? No? We'll move to consent calendar. Has anything been pulled, JR?
Nothing's been pulled, sir.
Then we need a motion. Any discussion on the consent? Are we good? Everyone here good? Okay. Motion?
I'll make the motion to accept the consent calendar as presented.
Second?
And I'll second that motion. We're going to do that after, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The consent calendar was carried. Yvonne Gallegos, due to a proclamation regarding Hispanic Heritage Month, I'm going to call you up in a second. I'm going to read the proclamation, then I'm going to come down and hand this to you. Thank you so much for doing this, and we're very pleased to have this. I'll read this proclamation for the city of Laverne. Whereas Hispanic Heritage Month originated in 1968 when Congress authorized President Lyndon Johnson to issue an annual proclamation designating Hispanic Heritage Week. When it was expanded to cover a 30-day period by President Ronald Reagan in 1988, becoming known as Hispanic Heritage Month, and was enacted into law on August 17, 1988. Whereas Hispanic Heritage Month is celebrated annually from September 15th through October 15th and recognizes the contributions of those tracing their roots to Spain, Mexico, Central America, South America, and the Spanish-speaking nations of the Caribbean. And whereas the most recent 2019 U.S. Census Bureau information indicates that the Hispanic population of the United States is 60.6 million, constituting 18.5% of the nation's population, the largest ethnic or racial group. And whereas Hispanic Americans have made and continue to make vast contributions, advances, and impacts to our nation and our community through politics, human rights, education, medicine, art, culture, farming, public service, and numerous other areas. And whereas Hispanic Americans have a positive influence on our nation and community through a deep commitment to family, community, and enduring work ethic, service, strong values, and perseverance to succeed and contribute to society. And whereas the theme of 2021 Hispanic Heritage Month is Esperanza, a celebration of Hispanic heritage and hope. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of Laverne hereby proclaims September 15th through October 15th, 2021 as Hispanic Heritage Month, which honors all Hispanic Americans for their countless contributions as leaders, innovators, entrepreneurs, thereby enriching our culture and society. Yvonne, you want to come up, please? On behalf of the City Council and all of us and our city, thank you so much for bringing this up, and we're very excited to have this, and we have a new month now to celebrate.
It's awesome.
Thank you very much. Would you like to say a few words?
I would.
Please,
Thank you so
please
much.
have them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Hepburn, City Council, and all city staff who assisted in bringing this together. I'm honored to have been asked to say a few words to you all. As Mayor Hepburn said, National Hispanic Heritage Month started as a week-long celebration in 1968 with President Lyndon Johnson. More importantly, what President Johnson said was, the people of Hispanic descent and their heirs of missionaries, captains, soldiers, and farmers who were motivated by a young spirit of adventure and a desire to settle freely in a free land. He proclaimed, this heritage is ours. It is important to recognize Hispanic Heritage Month because of the diversity in our city. The 2020 census tells us that 36% of Laverne residents self-identify with being Hispanic. That's about 11,500 people in our great city that do identify with being Hispanic. This proclamation will help to promote inclusiveness and awareness and the richness of Hispanics and their contributions to our community. During Hispanic Heritage Month, Hispanics honor their respective cultures and the histories behind them. It's a period meant for recognition, education, and celebration, but also to reflect on historical and current issues involving Hispanic communities today. I thank you for this opportunity and look forward to the City of Laverne taking steps to celebrate others and their uniquely beautiful heritage throughout the year. Gracias y buenas noches a todos. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne. That's you. We move to item 6, other matters. JR?
And actually, City Attorney Kim Barlow is here tonight.
Welcome, Ms. Barlow.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'll give you a brief report. We were asked to evaluate Section 2.04.020 of the Laverne Municipal Code with respect to its residency requirement. As you know, the government code precludes requiring city managers to reside within the city, and the city's code requires that the manager live within a 5-mile radius if required by council. Earlier this year, the city council provided notice to City Manager Russi that they wanted him to comply with that code section, but we were asked to bring this back for council consideration and follow-up. We have provided you with some data on the residency requirements or lack thereof in joining jurisdictions, and we are looking for your direction this evening.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for staff at this point? Council?
I'll hold my questions till after we have whatever public discussion we're going to have.
Then we're going to go ahead and go to public discussion, open the public meeting. Anybody wish to speak on the dais or the mic, please state your name or fill out a card, state your name, and please, we are adhering to the mask rules, so please keep your mask on if you could, please. And we're going to try to adhere to a 3-minute time frame, but if there's more time you need, we'll look at the situation. Thank you. Mr. Bowen.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, Legal Representative, JR. You just made a statement that the code indicates that the city manager only had to live here if, I don't know if you can reread it, regarding council approval or something to that effect. Do you mind rereading that statement?
Yes, go ahead, please.
All right, so what it provides is, at the time of appointment of a city manager, residents in the city shall not be required, but within 12 months thereafter, the city council shall require that the city manager, if his residence is not in Laverne, shall reside within a 5-mile radius of Laverne City Hall. In the past, the council has not enforced that and recently gave such notice. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, but that's not the municipal code. The municipal code says he has to live here within 12 months or within 5 miles. Is that not correct?
The municipal code.
The city manager or the city attorney is saying no, but that's how it reads. Is that not correct? Shall I reread it?
You can direct it to us, but Ms. Barlow?
Okay.
The code says what it says, but there are restrictions on that, and in the past, that has not been enforced. And so that is why the council recently gave direction to the city manager to comply with that requirement.
Okay, and who wrote the contract for the city manager? Do you know?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Well, it was approved.
No, who wrote the contract?
We basically, we approved the contract.
Bob Kress wrote the
And
contract.
Bob Kress reviewed
Okay.
it. The city council approved it.
So in 9 years, the city manager, and again, this is not about Bob Russi, this is about process. So for the last 9 years, the city manager has violated the municipal code, of which one of his primary duties is to enforce the municipal code. So now, basically, the council wants to change the rules. But my question is this. In the last 9 years, how many violations of the municipal code has the city charged citizens, businesses, whatever? It's probably tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, yet the city manager violated his contract because he signed a contract to uphold the municipal codes. So what's the penalty for violating municipal codes for 9 years? I've asked that 3 times, never got an answer. I asked 3 people asked last time about this subject, and we received absolutely no feedback, as usual. So I'm wondering, the last time I asked about it, Bob Kress asked me to sit down and then wouldn't answer the question. So is it possible to get an answer? What happens to somebody that has violated the municipal code of this city for 9 years?
Is that your, we'll bring it back up. Is that, thank you, Mr. Bowen. Anyone else wish to speak on that? Being none, we'll bring, oh, yes, sir. If you could state your name and your address, please.
My name is Terry Prentice, and I live at 2986 Wynwood Street, Laverne. Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
Mr. Chris, city attorney, JR. As I understand it, this was a municipal ordinance that was enacted in the 80s, about 4 decades ago. This was prior to cell phones fax machines, internet, video conferencing, 24-hour news media, or anything like that. And the reason I bring that up, 40 years ago, we were living in some different times. In the 1970s, I was a police officer in the city of Pomona. And word came down that the city was thinking about requiring police officers and firefighters to live within the city of Pomona. And then there was nothing about it for about a month. So I asked one of the sergeants, I said, have you heard anything more about that? Because I don't live in Laverne. He said, it's a dead issue. Over 50% of the police officers and firefighters do not live in the city of Pomona. They'd have to rehire all those new people. It was a bad ordinance when it was passed. It's a bad ordinance now. And I think that to answer the question that Mr. Bowen asked, is that in the law, it generally prescribes what is required, but in this, I don't believe there's anything that says what will happen if it doesn't happen. So I think that then becomes a matter of discretion of the people who are charged with enforcing that code. And I think that lies with you people right here up on the dais, is enforcing that. And whatever action you take is necessary and appropriate under the circumstances. I don't think that where a person lives is any indication of how they're going to do their job. I think where they live isn't, but who they are is what's going to determine how good a job they're going to do and how well they're going to do the job. I think that when we look at releasing people from the employment, we need to be looking at meritorious reasons, job performance, those issues. The job market right now is they're trying to get people. If we this puts our city at a complete disadvantage in hiring someone. We should not have that requirement for any employee of the city. You look around it, the median house cost here, I believe in Laverne, is probably somewhere north of $800,000, if not $1 million. To have that requirement on someone, I think it really puts us in a very bad position for trying to hire. And I think that we should put this code in the ash heap. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prentice. Anyone else? Mr. Gabaldon.
Good evening. I wasn't planning on speaking on this, but just in support of Mr. Bowen and others in this room, I think it's incumbent upon the City Council to just make a decision. Either change the municipal code or do something about enforcing it. I think Mr. Bowen's comments are fair in that if the city manager, for whatever the reason is that it's a good idea that he continues to work under this ordinance or outside the ordinance, is don't make him the bad guy if he's not the bad guy. If you guys can't make a decision that it's okay for our city manager to live outside the city, then do something about it. But this is going back and forth for months now, and you guys know it. So just change the ordinance if you want to change it. And to your comment, this gentleman right here, I worked 64 miles away from the city, and I still live in the city because I love it. But I think that he's right, that it doesn't matter where you live. You could do your job from anywhere now. I'm a COO of a company, and I work from home. At the end of the day, make this right for everybody so folks like Mr. Bowen don't feel like they're the bad guy every time they come up here to remind people about what we're not doing as a city in support of the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gabaldon. Anyone else? Ms. Kalisak. Oh. Sherry just wants to sell more shirts, but other than that, no problem. We'll buy.
I bought one and they're really nice.
How do they hold up in the wash machine? That's what I want to know. Are they 50-50?
A1.
There you go.
They're all good. I don't know if they were 50-50, but they work well. Kathy Kalusek, 2242 3rd Street, Laverne. Don't have a lot to add to what Terry Prentice said. I completely agree with him. If anybody didn't get a chance to look through the entire packet, there's a very interesting chart on page 34 of the packet. And it shows how many cities, and it's interesting how few require that the city manager live within a distance or in the city. So I thought that this was very interesting and important. And I agree with Mr. Gabaldon. You know, let's change the ordinance. It seems like it's antiquated, and now we've got computers in our pockets, so I think we don't need it anymore. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ms. Best?
Sherry Best. I live at 3949 Bradford Street in Laverne. Speaking as a private citizen, I would second and third the comments. I think that now is not the time to try to change horses and evaluate our city manager based on something that is a process that can be changed. He's been a wonderful city manager. Hope he continues to be a wonderful city manager. And when I read in the community news about the number of cities like Upland who have turned over their city manager, 3 or 4 times in the last couple of years, we don't need that kind of thing. So I really think what we need to do is make the change that makes it possible for Bob to continue to do his work here, just as many of us who may not live in Laverne have been able to do our work. I live 35 miles from my place of employment for 30 years, and I was able to do everything I needed to do with my job performance. So I think we're looking through the wrong end of this lens. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then while we're waiting for the next speaker, for those that are online, please raise your hand if you would like to speak.
Good evening, Kathy.
Hi.
You may speak.
Okay, Kathy Newland, Laverne resident. I think we're missing the point of what Rick Bowen is saying. He's not against changing the, whatever you called it, the contract. It's how long it's been going on without being noticed by anybody. And other residents do have to pay penalties and things for these mistakes. So I'm just talking off the cuff. I think that we're missing what he was saying. I don't think he's against changing it if that's what you want to do from now on. But there has to be some accountability for the long 9 years that he knew this and did not, no one brought it up. So that's all.
Thank you, Kathy. Anyone else wish to speak on this matter? Please. Go ahead and bring them up.
Hi. Could you hear me?
We can hear you, Lily. Ooh, don't.
Hi, thank you. Good evening. My name is Lily Bernal. I live in 7th Street. I just want to follow up the same topic as Richard Boyne said. I feel like a little unfair because it has been pretty much like the news this month. We noticed that. So I think citizens deserve an answer. You know, I mean, it doesn't matter if you still continue the job or change, but we deserve an answer from city. So I don't want Rachel become the bad man. Like every time he stand up to talk about that, we just sit and wait, see anything happening. So we're still small city. I feel like the city manager did a lot of good things in the past years. So we're a very great city. I just hope we city council will have a good answer, since it's already in public on social media everywhere. Everybody knows it, watch it. So I just hope we have a better decision, okay? And another thing I want to bring up, the map, Laverne.org, still not really working for the mapping for the district voting. I'm pretty much old-fashioned, I think. I want to try to find out if it really has to be 5 districts. So I want to see how
Lily, we're on a different subject right now. You can do that on at the end. Thank you.
This one. I just appreciate Richard follow up this case.
Thank you
very much. Good night.
Anybody else via Zoom? Nobody else is raising their hand, sir. We did receive one voicemail, or one email, excuse me, before, but they didn't want to speak. They just submitted the comments.
Okay. Okay. If there are no other speakers, we're going to close the public comment and come up to the dais. Council? Mr. Davis?
Yeah, I just want to confirm with the attorneys that the ordinance burden is not on the city manager, but is on the council. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I don't know what was happening exactly 9 years ago, but while I've been on council, that requirement hadn't been given to the city manager until this past June. So I can't speak for 9 years, but from 2017 on, I know that the city council that I've been parts of have not issued that requirement on the city manager. So this isn't the city manager's burden unless and until the council puts it on them. You may be shaking your head no. However, that's the way the ordinance is written. You can pretend it's some other manner, but the facts are the facts. And so with regard to that's history though, and I'm glad that Council members Crosby and Lau brought this to our attention, because I think when we do need to recruit our next city manager, I don't want this burden to be out there, because this potentially would increase the amount of money that we would need to compensate the city manager to meet this requirement. So I'm in total support of eliminating this portion of the ordinance and not having any kind of residence requirement.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Yes?
We did get a request to recall.
Okay, then we should probably do that now. Excuse us. Let's do this.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, I'm going to introduce you, and then you'll have 3 minutes to speak, okay? It's Danita Beauchamp, sir? Good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. I think everybody's missing the point of what Mr. Bowen is trying to prove with his comments, is that the city is picking and choosing which municipal codes they want to enforce and not enforce, so that it's completely an unfair situation. So because the city manager has been the city manager for numerous years, you guys are making the concession to allow him to continue to be city manager even though he doesn't fulfill the proper requirements of the contract. And because Mr. Bowen has brought this up months ago, I don't understand why the city council didn't make a motion or put it on the agenda to ratify that municipal code at that time. The fact that the city council continues to prolong this and put it off says that Mr. Bowen's comments are unimportant and that you don't take him seriously. And that's where the city, the residents of the city are just really kind of fed up. I mean, some of us are at the precipice of just, we don't know what else to do to get the city to listen to what the residents are asking for. You guys are nitpicking, and it's the minutia of the project, but that's not the point. The point is that this is a municipal code and should be enforced. If you don't want to enforce it, then change the code. Simple as that. But it gets prolonged and continues on, and then Mr. Bowen never gets his questions answered. That's not how city government works. So I think the council needs to take some accountability and responsibility in the lack of enforcement. Thank you for your time.
Nothing else? We're going to close the public comment again, and we're going to come back up the dais. Councilmember Lau.
Wait 1 second, Mr. Mayor. I remember that Rick Bowen did have a question that we said, okay, well, answer it at the end. So I don't think that was answered yet.
No, it wasn't, and it was a question regarding how many citations have other people had, or municipal code violations, and how many hundreds of thousands of municipal code violations of people with tickets or warnings or violations in their homes or whatever. So, I mean, I don't think we can really answer that, but I think it's just the fact that a lot. then point well taken.
Okay, thank you. So I wanted to take a moment to try to clarify, because I think we're all saying we've all got pieces of it. And so to clarify what Mayor Pro Tem Davis clarified with the attorneys is that the onus is on the city council to enforce. So you are correct. So I think to Ms. Beauchamp's comment, it is upon the city council to enforce. Whatever happened prior to my coming on this council, so I am glad that Mayor Pro Tem Davis brought this up, because I don't want to sound like I'm throwing people under the bus, but for whatever reason, it did not get addressed by the prior city councils. So that enforcement did not happen. When it came to my attention and to the attention of Councilmember Crosby, we had to go through the process of exactly what we're doing now. What are we going to do? Are we enforcing this municipal code, or are we looking at it to determine if this is the appropriate code that is appropriate for this city at this time? And that is why the attorneys were directed to do the research and the information, gather the information in order to provide this report, not only just to council, but to the city, so that there's a broader understanding of what is happening in the world at large, in our immediate world at large, and what makes sense. And so to many of the points that citizens have made tonight about how it is completely possible for someone to do a job 60 miles, 30 miles, whatever it is from where they live, and still be able to do a good job, does this ordinance serve the residents of Laverne by restricting the available pool of potential future city managers to a 5-mile radius? And so again, to the points that have been raised and the question that has been asked, City Council is poised tonight to make a decision about what are we doing with this municipal code. But again, going back to the enforcement issue and what is the punishment, et cetera, I will also bring up Mr. Prentice's point that there is nothing, as I'm aware of, and please, Council, direct me in the right direction if I'm wrong, but there is not a penalty for violating that municipal code. But again, that enforcement is incumbent upon the council to make sure that it happens. And so that's why Rick and I brought it up, because we had to get all the processes and all the steps so that we can make this right, not just for this current situation, but for what may happen in the future. So I hope that clarifies it a little bit, and if you wouldn't mind just addressing that point in terms of a penalty.
Yes, I'd be happy to do that. There is no prescribed penalty, excuse me, and even if there were, it's somewhat difficult to penalize the city council as a body. It was something that the city council had the authority to enforce. There was an obligation, if any, to put the city manager on notice that it was going to enforce that. The city council has now done that. So there really isn't any penalty to impose. At this point, the council has acted to enforce it, and then may choose whether or not to change the code at this point.
Thank you. Councilmember Carter.
Yes, Wendy, you explained that quite well. Thank you. I was the only council member at the time that was here when we hired Mr. Russi, and I thought he was more of a city manager for 11 years, wasn't it, Bob? Yeah, because I was only on for like 6 months before he became our city manager. And Bob, Lily said it the best. He's a good city manager. He's at every event that we have. I'm proud that he's our city manager, and I really believe this municipal code is outdated. It was never even presented to any of us, even when we hired him. And so it was in archaic world out there somewhere. But I think we need to rectify that, and thank you for taking the steps to bring it to us correctly so that we could analyze everything that went on. We got the data that took time to get the chart of showing all the different cities. And I think we need to abolish it. I do not think you need to have a mileage chart. As many of you know, I've been on the school board too. I went through 5 superintendents in our school district. Not one lived locally. They lived down by the beach. They lived all over, but they came to every event. It's the person, as it's been said tonight, it's the person and their dedication to the job and what we expect of the employee that it makes the seat filled with the right person. So that's what I feel right now. So Tim?
Thank you, Councilmember Carter.
Mr. Mayor, can I readdress one thing that I want to make sure people understand?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. And that was a point that was brought up towards the end, and that is that if there is code enforcement obligation, that obligation or that failure to comply with the code is actually on the council, and so any repercussions would be to the council and not to the city manager. Yeah, okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. So it's the council that's on the hook and not the city manager. Thank you.
That's correct.
I want to first thank Councilmember Crosby and Councilmember Lau for bringing this up. I want to thank Mr. Bowen also. We're sorry. Let me finish this, if you would, please. This is, I feel at fault on this one too, because I was part of the council that approved the contracts, even when we did. I think it was messy at best. I think that we didn't pay attention to it. We should have. The problem is the relevancy and the relevant of our municipal codes. We probably need to review them all. I know it takes a lot of time, but to see where we're at, as Mr. Prentice said and other people have said, is it relevant anymore? I mean, in the workplace right now has changed so drastically since COVID. I mean, people are working remotely everywhere. But the point is that we made a mistake. They brought it up. We're going to remedy that. But we do need to see the relevancy of our municipal codes to see if they're even relevant anymore and review them. They've been in there a long time. It's a stack, I think, about this big. And the residents, we did this. We brought this to our staff in order to give us the information to review other cities, what they do and how they hire their city managers or any of their staff, whether police chief or a fire chief, and to see where we're at. And as you can see on this, if anybody's read this, it's off the charts. There's just a few cities that do require that, and quite frankly, it's we're beyond that now. I think our city needs to. I agree with everyone else that we need to remove this and move on, and we review this every time, because we will have a new city manager, as we will have new council members, and we need to review these policies on the basis of the employment agreement and make sure that our legal staff and council and management is fully aware of what's going on. Because obviously this one slipped through the cracks. I'm personally a little embarrassed about it because it was under my watch too. I didn't see it, and it's like, okay, we have an issue. Our council members brought it up. We're addressing it now like we said we were going to do, and I think we're going to make a change tonight if everyone agrees to that I too agree that we need to remove this from our municipal code. And I would just say that we want to, I know it's a lot of work, but I think we need to start from this point forward and start reviewing our municipal codes to see the relevancy of what we've got in there now. And also, to Mr. Bowen's point, we have to hold everyone to the same standards, and I think that's very important. That's the most important thing. And we're not skirting that. We just didn't know. Not a good excuse, but we've addressed it. And the point is that we all are bound by the same standards. We're all bound by municipal codes. We all live in this community, and if we break the law, you break the law. But for us, it would be the council being in charge of that, because we didn't overview the contract, we didn't look at it, and we didn't do it properly. So, but being that said, I appreciate all the residents' input, but I'm in favor of abolishing it also and removing that from our municipal code. So I would like a motion, if we could.
I don't know if it's a motion. I think it's a direction.
Do we just give direction to staff?
Right. It can be in the form of a motion.
I think we should make a motion. Yes.
So then I would like to move that we direct the city attorney's office to draft an ordinance to repeal section 2.04.020 and in the future address residency as part of contractual negotiations with city managers, thereby allowing city council the latitude to make the best choice for the city at the time.
Could we add one more thing in there? Do you mind?
Go for it.
Councilmember Lau, if we could, and we will review our municipal codes.
That's not really an agenda.
Not an agenda, no.
But we can,
Okay.
But we can talk about it.
We can talk about it later. Let's just work on this one. Okay, never mind.
I would like to amend the motion, though, to add and rescind the request or rescind the requirement laid upon the city manager to move.
Yes.
Because we did have that in the original effort to say that we put the burden or required him to move with the opportunity to rescind should we change the ordinance.
I will accept that friendly amendment to the motion.
Thank you.
Then we have, we need a second.
Okay, and I'll second that.
Okay, we vote. It passes. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, very much. Thank you for everybody for the input. We will move to public comments and oral communications. Anybody wish to come speak at the mic? I'm sorry. You can. Please.
Susan Carson, Bonita Avenue. I had a personal conversation with Mr. Russi, and I directly asked him. I just didn't want to, run around and listen to everybody's comments about the whole contract, etc. And I addressed it, face to face with him, and he told me that he brought it up when he was first hired, that he wasn't within 5 miles, and that it was well aware. Everyone was well aware. The attorney was well aware. Council was well aware. Obviously, there's only one person that was on the council when he was hired, and that everyone was well aware that he wasn't living within the 5 miles. So you knew. And he said he brought it up himself. He was aware. So in his defense, he knew all along, and he wasn't trying to slide it under the door or anything. So I think definitely the council's the one that should be, paying for it, and he shouldn't be having to pay an ordinance or any kind of, punishment for it, because he did bring it up. Now, whatever happened over the 9 years that nobody paid attention to his contract or negotiations or whatever, that's another situation. But, obviously if the council knew, they should have done something then. That's all.
Thank you very much. Yes, please. Anyone wish to come up, just state your name and address and.
Joe Gabaldon, 2529 Amherst Street, City of Laverne. So I brought a copy for council. I'll give it to you in a second when I get to it. But I just wanted to speak to this evening and some of the spirit of this evening so far, which is to resolve issues that have been going on for a while. I feel like the fact that we have to stand up here with masks still is a problem when every other city around us doesn't require that. Not every other city, but most other cities. And that we're being shamed into wearing masks. And the fact that people are on Zoom and can't hear us. In every single meeting, literally, there's technical issues that are easily resolved. And why it is the city council and the city management have not fixed that. I understand the effort and not picking on anybody individually. But the fact that there was a VFW gentleman up here last week who took the time to get off his chair to speak, made 2 sentences, and no record of it on Zoom or in the city's transcript. Why not? Inexcusable. Those things need to be resolved. That's why people come up here and they have attitude, okay? To the things that I wanted to speak about particularly was regarding, Damocles was brought up last week. Yes, I'm going to cite exact quotes. At the end of the day, yes, we don't want to put anybody under the sword of Damocles, but you put yourself there when there are half-truths, incomplete information, knowing that there's information out there that we don't, have the energy to go look for when we have important city matters. And the district voting is absolutely one of them that I think that we're taking this lightly. So the information that I'm to provide you is the Supreme Court case for Santa Monica that said that last week we were told by the city representative for district voting did not exist. Couldn't see it. Well, Joe Gabaldon got it. Also, some of the answers that we were providing regarding the Santa Monica litigation are available on the city's website. Again, available, told by everybody in the audience and to the city, not available. I asked very specific questions last week, and I believe Mr. Russi took note of some of them, and then Mr. Johnson got up and kind of generally spoke around the answers, and I asked for those to be answered. So if anybody took notes, I'd like answers to those questions, and I can provide them in written form if that's required. But at the end of the day, I feel like the city is trying to speak out about the things that they think are important, not just today, but for 10 years, 9 years. And we're being kind of like put off, and we'll get around to it, and we hear you. I really think that the time has come for the city council to look itself in the mirror, because it's available on video. It's available, in transcripts, that your exact words, your exact comment, the tone. You can't retreat from things you say one day and come up another day and act as if you're innocent and there's no penalty to you. There is a penalty, because social media is out there and we can all use it to inform our fellow citizens. So I encourage you to look for more honest truths and not to sway the audience with the questions you ask of people that the city is paying, especially as it relates to district voting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gabaldon. Thank you. Anybody else wish to come up and speak?
And for those wishing to speak via Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature.
Yes, Mr. Bowen, you can come up. This one.
I'm going to lower the mask because, as Mr. Gabaldon has pointed
Mr.
out,
Bowen, I
I'm
would.
not going to do it, Tim.
You
Not
really
gonna do
have
it.
to.
No, I don't.
I mean, we're under CDC guidelines. As a friend, please.
I was
would
just at
appreciate-
the safety meeting this Saturday, and I saw you, Robin Carter, within the fire department bay, no masks, greeting, shaking hands, face to face. So this has got to the point you can't hear anything. You guys have.
We were in an open environment, and the doors were all
That was
wide
a-
open, and the air was blowing through. I just
Okay.
appreciate it if you would please put your mask up, Mr. Bowen. Please.
If you would fix this system so people can understand, that would be wonderful. I believe you do it on purpose. Not you, but it's managed. As a courtesy to the mayor, I will put
Thank
the
you.
mask on. I want to read something from Mir Davis, dated 10/7/2020. I don't believe that it is in the best interest of the city to create districts for the city council. I believe districts divide cities. I believe that our city needs to continue the work of coming together, working together, and engaging each other. I believe that breaking our cities into districts will be divisive, as council members will be working for their constituents in their district and not necessarily the whole city. I understand that our city is currently divided. Remember, this was a year ago. But I believe we can work through these divisive issues without further dividing the city. That was his email. So I just want to say, I think the current attempt to change the election system through district voting is a power grab. And I think it's, quite frankly, led by Carter, Davis, Lau, and Crosby. I believe their agenda should be crystal clear to anybody that has been paying attention over the last year. The next time Mr. Davis chooses to use my name to push his agenda, he should at least have the courage to say it to my face. Funny that he remembers me asking about district voting over a year ago, but he doesn't seem to remember the numerous other things, such as a city audit. That was a reckless, to use your term, use of my name to push your agenda and try to put blame on someone else. There's a lot of things that are reckless in this life, Mr. Davis, and I think you know what I'm referring to. Back in October of last year, after listening to both Carter and Davis tell everyone how divisive district voting is for the city, I want the record to show that I'm 100% against it. I listened, but it's funny. those same two that were so against it, with the support now of the other two council members, maybe all three, support the division of Laverne, in spite of the majority of the citizens voicing their opposition. And I looked at the Zoom meeting last week, and everybody that got up and spoke, I believe, was against it. They say things like, quote, "We have to," unquote, or "We might get sued," unquote, or "We have to eventually," unquote, or some other BS. They even hired an ex-Democratic, call him an operative, to do the districting. And I know the outcome of what that's going to be. I can predict it anyway. I've not heard anyone say that's good for the city of Laverne. At least step up and admit that you know you will not be reelected next year under our current system, and that this is the only way for you to attempt to survive politically. You were all elected to work for the citizens of Laverne, not to support your own agenda and power grab. If you proceed with your attempt to destroy this city, at least give the citizens the right to vote versus a council vote. This is exactly what Robin Carter did when the vote for the fire department went against her. She then helped sponsor a petition to have the citizens vote on the firefighters. This district voting is the most important thing to happen to this city in the last 50 years. It should be up to the citizens to vote whether it happens or not. Let the citizens decide if we want to fight to save our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Anybody else wish to get up and speak?
May I have just 30 seconds to complete a thought? I think it's important to what
I'll give you the time, Mr. Gabaldon.
So this is a quote from the documents that I provided you in support of those of us that want this taken a little more seriously than it has. This is within the document and the findings on behalf of the California League of Cities, Mr. Mayor, which you belong, and also on behalf of the California Special Districts Association. It is in form in that document. Cal Cities and CSDA agree with the city's position on these legal issues and urge the court to address and resolve these issues to provide their members clarity regarding CVRA's application so that decisions to abandon voter-selected at-large election systems can be made on the basis of the law, not uncertainty regarding the application of its fear of economic consequences. Thank you very much for the minute.
Thank you, Mr. Gabaldon. Anyone else wish to speak? Okay.
I want to follow up the street voting too. Since I live here 15 years, my husband lived here 20 years. We are totally different person. I get all the information from social media website, and then he only use old phone and text. How many people like him never go to visit the website, never go to social media? He don't even know what's happening. What's this voting? So a lot of residents just like him don't even know what's happening. So district voting will be coming very soon. And then I feel the deadline is pushing. But a lot of citizens, I talk to them, I have very good relationship with the neighbors around my house. Nobody knows what's happening, and then none of them support. So I think this is our voting right. Each single citizen in Laverne, they have the right to receive a notice. Maybe flyer, go to their door. Let them know district voting is coming, you support or not. I don't want people come to complain next year when voting comes. They feel like, oh, district voting about the school board or trustee? And then how about plan commission? I mean, it's a very big change in our city. I know some change is good, some change is bad, some change is bad. But as long as I know, my opinion, I try to find out everything is good for us or bad for us. I still against that. So I just don't think it's a good idea. And then every citizen has the right to know this before move forward to go to the mapping. Now still not working, the map's not working. So I just thinking our city should really be transparent. Everybody should get a notice, not digit, paper notice, flyer, each door. Everybody need to be just know their right. It's going to be taken away in next year. Thank you. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Anyone else via Zoom?
Sherry, after this, you're more welcome to come up. Sherry?
In this conversation about district voting, two thoughts struck me. And first, I would like to say that I'm not a fan of district-based versus at-large voting. I have good friends in Claremont. I've watched them go through that process. It's not been a happy thing for them, but I think we're misdirecting our upset. We need to be changing the law at the state level. Instead of being upset with members of the city council, we should go ahead and get active and see what we can do to address this at the state level. This is an example of a one-size-fits-all law. It was crafted to address a serious problem that existed and not representing people in minority groups. That would work in bigger cities. It's not as workable in Laverne. So I would suggest we direct our concerns to where change can happen. And secondly, I would like to comment that although it's very much the case that both Mr. Davis and Ms. Carter went on the record opposed to district voting a long time back, my guess is that since that time, they've acquainted themselves with the dynamic that's existing with cities now. And they did the calculus, and they looked at what the cost was going to be to the city should we decide to struggle, and should we either win or lose. This is going to cost us enormously. And we are very concerned about financial and fiscal responsibility. So I think do the fiscally responsible thing now, direct your concern to the state legislature, and get this law amended so it makes sense to all cities. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Anyone else, JR? There's no other public comment. We're going to close public comment and come to the dais. Who would like to start the report and the reports? Councilmember Carter?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Sherry. You are correct. You know, with data, we move forward. I can't discuss more on it because it have to be agendized for the district voting. So I just want to thank you because that's a good way to put it. I just wanted to say this past weekend was the public safety open house. It was wonderful. The police department, the fire department opened up their doors for tours and had booths, exhibits. We were all there, had a wonderful time. And to see all the kids with the little rodeo going on, bike rodeo, and then there were 3 bikes given out at the end of the night. And it was just a wonderful event, open to the community. And people were so happy that's something to come do and have fun. So it was nice to see everybody out there. And also, I want to applaud the employees because beyond the ones that were on duty, that were working endlessly to put this on, that employees also from fire, police, and city staff for public works, they were out there. They still came in with their families and they joined in and participated. And that really warmed my heart to see that they cared enough to come back and participate.
Thank you, Councilmember Carter. Councilmember Lau?
I would just echo the comments regarding the public safety event. I think it was very well done. It was nice to see folks out, and I think it was a good opportunity for the community to see what services are provided from our police and our fire and everything else. And so thank you for all of those that were able to make it out and be in attendance at that event. This Saturday, we do have our trunk or treat. So it is in person, it is outdoors, and it's not just a drive-through like we had to do when things were in the heaviest part of COVID. So this is a nice opportunity. It's free to community members from 5 to 8. There will be candy and games and things for people to do. So obviously, some precautions and social protocols will still apply, but for the most part, it will be an opportunity for the community to get together and see each other. And so I know that the staff has worked really hard to put this event on to really make this a pleasurable thing for our community. So I definitely encourage those of you, if you are available, to come out and celebrate and dress up. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lau. Councilmember Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. I concur with what the other council members have said. We had a couple ribbon cuttings that had been long delayed, but we finally got to cut some ribbons for Moxie Salon down on Bonita Avenue and State Farm Insurance up on Foothill and Town Center Drive, what I affectionately called Antique White, because it used to be White Avenue that ran all the way up there, and then they moved it. So, but my vote on street naming didn't get accepted, but that's all right. Last Monday night we had a public hearing on district voting. Very informative, a lot of information out there, as was presented this evening. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to make the public safety open house as I had family obligations. This Wednesday, we have a CASI meeting, Cultural Awareness and Social Inclusion at 5. And then on Saturday, we've got the trunk or treat. So please come out and join us for the trunk or treat. Wear your costumes. Let's have some good time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Davis. As everybody stated, this weekend was amazing, and last week we're ramping up again. I know the masks are a pain, but these open ribbon cuttings have been absolutely wonderful. These businesses have been going for over 18 months, and finally be able to celebrate them between the Farmers Insurance and Moxie Salon. Also, the big thing we do have too, which is the trunk or treat on Saturday, and please have your kids come out. It's a ball. It really is. It's a ball. We have the Taste of Laverne, which is the 20th October over at the helicopter cover over on the airport. And tickets are still on sale. I think it's till the 10th or the 12th. They go up to $60, but they're $45 right now, and they go up $15 more. So Chamber of Commerce down in Laverne, please grab your tickets. We need to make this a success because we can all go out. It's open air. We'll have a good time. So also our Sowing Seeds for Life down on Arrow Highway, they have a drive-through food pantry. It's at the Charisma Life Church, 305 East Arrow Highway in Pomona on October 6th and October 20th from 8 a.m. to 12 noon while the supplies last. So if we'll post this, I'd like to see if we could post this on our website. I'll send it to you, JR. It's very important to support this. These Sowing Seeds has been doing such a great job for our community, our surrounding community. So for those that need, this is a great way to do that. We had the LA County Sheriff's Food Drive. It was 2 Saturdays ago. And the local Sheriff's Department, the San Dimas, had a local food drive, very successful, over at the church on White Avenue, the big church on White Avenue. So congratulations to them. It went really well. They gave away a ton of food. And the Sheriff's Department does this. It's their organization they have. So kudos to them. Also, you know, I know there's been a lot of conversation tonight, but we as a council, there's a lot of stuff that we have to read. There's a lot of information we have to go through. We take this seriously. This district voting and things that we do are very, very serious. It changes the way things are done, but so important for residents to have their input. You must hear input. We have another meeting in October that's going to be an open meeting, and it's very important that you all attend and voice your concerns. This is important. It will change the way we do things, but we appreciate your comments, your concerns. We do take things seriously. We try to move things as quickly as we can. Staff has done an amazing job to try to keep us informed, to give us the information, our legal staff, and it's not a perfect world. We do our best. We all do our best. It's a lot of information, a lot of stuff we have to go through to make sure the residents get what they need, the information to make those decisions. But we are going into some different territories, and we need to all be involved with it. So thank you, everybody, for coming. Appreciate it. It's wonderful. We had our badge pinning to ceremony. Our next, we have another badge pinning on for a fire badge pinning on October 18th, 2021 at 6 o'clock p.m. Our next regular scheduled meeting of Laverne City Council, Monday, October 18th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. We will adjourn at 7:37 p.m. Thank you all for being here.